Hey guys, Mr. Backerberg here. In this video, we're going to look at adding and subtracting square roots. Now, when we're adding and subtracting radicals, there's one big rule that we have to follow. And this isn't the rule, but it's going to help us with the rule. The first thing we want to do if we've got addition or subtraction happening with radicals is we always want to simplify down those square roots if we're able to, because that's going to help us with the rule once we actually get to it. Now, the rule itself says that we're going to add or subtract the terms or the square roots that have the exact same radical on them. If they're not the same radical, then we can't add or subtract them together. That's our big rule. So, for example, if we wanted to look at taking 2 square root of 2 and adding 6 square root of 2, those are the same radical, so we can safely add those together. So what we're going to do is look at the numbers in front of the radical. So we got a 2 and a 6. We're going to add those together to get 8, and then we're going to leave that radical the same on the end. So 2 root 2 plus 6 root 2 gives us 8 root 2 as our answer. So we've got a bunch of examples that we're going to run through. The first one says that we're going to take the square root of 5 minus 6 square root of 5. Now, our first step says that we want to try to simplify down the radical if we're able to. So if we think about making a factor tree with 5, the only way to multiply to get to 5 is with 1 and 5. Neither one of those can be broken down any further, and we don't have any pairs, so we're not able to simplify down these radicals since they're both square root of 5. The next step says that we're going to do the operation, so we're either going to add or subtract based on what we've got. Now, this first radical doesn't have a number in front of it, so that means that there's an implied 1 in front of here. So I'm going to look at the numbers that are in front of the radicals and do the operation. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5, and then I leave that square root of 5 attached on the end. So our answer is negative 5 root 5. For our next one, we've got 3 root 7 plus the square root of 28. I can try to break down that square root of 7, but it's not going to break down at all. But if I do look at that square root of 28, that can be broken down. 28 is 4 times 7. 4 can be broken down into 2 times 2, and we've got ourselves a pair of 2's. So this is going to break down into 2 root 7, and we haven't changed that 3 root 7, so we're going to leave that alone. These have the same radical, so it's safe to add them together. So we look at the numbers in front. 3 plus 2 is 5, and then we leave that square root of 7 attached on the end. So we get 5 root 7 as our answer. For this next one, we've got 2 root 6 minus 5 root 54. We could try to break down that square root of 6, but it only breaks down into 2 and 3, and there are no pairs there, so that can't be simplified. But if I look at that square root of 54, 54 can be broken down into 6 times 9. 6 breaks down into 2 and 3. 9 breaks down into 3 and 3. So we've got a pair of 3's that we can take out, but we have to remember that there is this 5 in front. So if we take 5 times the 3 that we're taking out, we get 15. And then if we look at what's left over, this 2 and this 3 don't get paired up with anything, so they're going to stay underneath the radical, but we're going to multiply them back together. So 2 times 3 would be 6 underneath that radical. We haven't changed that 2 root 6. I'm just going to copy that down, and then it says that we're subtracting these. So 2 root 6 minus 15 root 6. They're the same radical, so we can do the subtraction. So we subtract the numbers in front. So 2 minus 15 is negative 13. And then we leave that square root attached on the end. So we get negative 13 root 6. Now for our next one, we've got 2 root 27 minus the square root of 108. That 27 can be broken down into 3 times 9, and 9 breaks down into 3 times 3. So we've got a pair of 3's that we can take out. There's already a 2 in front, so if I take that 2 times the 3 that we're taking out, we get 6. Square root of this other 3 doesn't have a pair, so it stays underneath the radical. Minus, now we need to break down this square root of 108 as well. Well, I'm going to go 2 times 54, and then 54 breaks down into 6 and 9. 6 breaks down into 2 and 3, and 9 breaks down into 3 and 3. So we've got a pair of 2's that we can take out, and a pair of 3's that we can take out. So if we take out a 2 and a 3, multiply those together, and we get 6. This other 3 doesn't have a pair, so it stays underneath the radical. So we've got 6 root 3 minus 6 root 3. These are the same radical. They're both square root of 3. So we're going to do the subtraction. 6 minus 6 is 0, and we leave that square root attached on the end. So we have 0 square root of 3. But if we take 0 times the square root of 3, that's just going to give us 0 as our final answer. I've got a few more examples I want to take a look at. So here we have 9 root 32 plus the square root of 2. We're going to look to break down that square root of 32. So I'm going to go 2 times 16. 16 breaks down into 2 times 8. 8 breaks down into 2 times 4. And 4 breaks down into 2 times 2. So we've got one pair of 2's that we can take out. And then we've got another pair of 2's down here. But don't forget that we already had a 9 in front. So if we take 9 times one of those 2's, that's 18. But then if we multiply by the other 2, that's going to be 36. So we have 36 square root of this other 2 doesn't have a pair on it, so it stays underneath the radical. And I'm supposed to add on the square root of 2. Now that square root of 2 doesn't have a number in front of it, so it really means 1 square root of 2. These are the same radicals, so it's going to be safe for us to add these together. So we add the numbers in front. 36 plus 1 is 37, and then we leave that square root of 2 attached on the end. So we get 37 root 2. Looking at this next one, now we're adding 3 pieces together. So we've got the square root of 12 plus 6 root 3 plus 2 root 6. Let's look at that square root of 12. 12 breaks down into 4 times 3. 4 breaks down into 2 times 2. So there we've got a pair of 2's. So we can take the 2 out, but leave the 3 underneath the radical since it doesn't have a pair. 3 can't be broken down at all because its only factors are 1 and 3, and that doesn't have any pairs. So I'm just going to leave that one the same. So plus 6 root 3. And 6 can't be broken down either because that's just 2 times 3. And again, neither one of those has a pair, so we can't break that one down. So I'm going to leave that one the same as well. So plus 2 root 6. Now, as far as adding these together, our rule said that we're only allowed to add or subtract things that have the same radical, the same square root. So if we're looking, right here we have a root 3, right here we have a root 3, but this other one is a root 6. So we're going to be able to add those first 2 together because those 2 have the same radical, but we're not going to be able to add that last radical to this. So if I just look at those first 2 square roots there, we've got 2 root 3 plus 6 root 3. Well, if we add those numbers in front, 2 plus 6 is 8, and we leave the root 3 attached on the end. Now, we haven't done anything with this 2 root 6 because we can't add it to those first 2 radicals because it's a different number underneath the radical. So we're just going to leave it on the end and not add it in with the 8 root 3. So this whole thing would technically be your final answer. 8 root 3 plus 2 root 6. For our last one, we've got 3 root 7 plus 5 root 14. We could try to break down that square root of 7, but that's just 1 and 7. There are no pairs there, so we can't simplify that one down. If we look at the 14, that would be 2 times 7. And again, there are no pairs there, so we're not able to break that one down. So as we look at this, we're trying to add this together, but we're not able to break down any of those radicals, and we don't end up with the same radical. So because we don't have like radicals or the same radicals, we're not able to actually add these together. So this one is not simplifiable at all. This is just our final answer. There's nothing else that we can do with it. Those can't be combined at all. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.